Hi guys, Pete the Wargamer here and welcome back to another conversion tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you how you can convert your Primaris Space Marines to represent members of the Death Watch. So let's get started. Now the kit that I'll be using as the basis of this conversion is the Primaris Intercessors kit. And as you can see here I've got legs and also the torso have been partly assembled and I'll be building up from this throughout this video. Now for this tutorial, one of the things you'll need to do is to assemble a set of arms. This is so we can make sure that the positioning of certain items on the chest is correct and isn't going to interfere with anything. So assemble one of the bolt rifles in much the same way as I have done here, but don't yet glue it to the torso. Now one of the first details that I'll be applying to this kit is one of the chest adornments that the Death Watch have. These are usually either extra ammunition, grenades or other pouches. So we're going to be using some of the components found on the Intercessors kit to add some details to the chest. So I'm going to be clipping off one of these small pouches from the frame. With our pouch removed from the frame and also cleaned up, we now want to do a test fitting to make sure that the arms won't actually get in the way of the pouch being on the chest. So we're going to bring in our arms that we assembled previously and basically hold them against the miniature to make sure that where we want to place the pouch won't get in the way. Once you're happy with the positioning of the pouch, we can now actually start trying to affix it to the torso itself. But before we do that, we do need to make a small incision on the chest emblem. If we don't and instead try to glue the pouch directly to the emblem, we will find that it won't look quite right. It'll look like it's just been tagged on and isn't really part of the Intercessor's armour. So we want to use a hobby knife to gently and carefully carve away a small section. Steadily work on cutting away the emblem just a little bit at a time. You don't want to accidentally remove too much as it's very difficult to rectify. I would also recommend filing down the rear side of the pouch to ensure a better fit. With the pouch and the emblem ready, we can now bring out our plastic glue and affix the pouch to the torso. Whilst I've glued on one of the pouches, you could instead use something such as some additional ammunition or some grenades, or even, if you have access to the Reaver's kit, some of the chest adornments from there instead. The next detail that I'll be adding to our Death Watch focuses on the fact that the Death Watch draw their members from other chapters. This means that many of their members have physical details or even armour details which are representative of their parent chapter. In the case of our own Intercessor that I'm assembling here, he is from the Space Wolves, which means I'm going to be using a few Space Wolf components, notably the head and also the shoulder panel, which thankfully are in the correct scale for Primaris. Now whilst I'm using the Space Wolves, you can feel free to use any chapter when representing your own Death Watch. In fact, it's good to have a mixture among your squad. One important Death Watch detail which should never be overlooked is their iconic left shoulder panel. And of course, one of the easiest places to get this from is the Death Watch upgrade sprue. The next detail that I'll be adding to our Marine is the small sensor array that sits on the power pack of the Death Watch. And for this, I'll be using one of the components that's used to build the Stalker bolt rifle. However, before we can use it, we first of all need to cut away anything below the mount of the scope. Then we need to cut away either end of the scope so that only the centre part is left. Once the required items have been removed, carefully trim the areas to make sure that they are flat. Then remove one of the small nubs from the top of the power plant. This will help to create a better surface in which to glue the sensor array to. With our sensor array completed, we can now move on to applying an additional optional detail to our Death Watch. As the Death Watch are Xenos hunters, it stands to reason that some chapters may be inclined to take trophies of their downed opponents. And we can easily achieve this by taking one of the alien skulls from Games Workshop's skull set. Once you have selected your skull, use a pin vise to drill a small hole in the top. Then use a knife to steadily expand the hole. This will act as a mounting point for the chain. Now the chain that I'll be using is a 1.5mm link chain, which is from Zinge Industries, and I'll include a link to them in the description below. So first of all, you want to apply a small dot of superglue to the mounting point that we created on the top of the skull. Then you can bring in your chain. Carefully place the chain into the groove and hold it steady for a few seconds, allowing the glue to dry. With the chain affixed, you can then bring in the rest of your Intercessor and check that the length of chain you want to use to attach it to the belt is correct. Once you have chosen the length, use some clippers to cut down the length of the chain. Once again, use some superglue to affix the chain to the Intercessor's belt. With the chain in place, you can then use a small amount of plastic glue to fix the skull to the body of the Space Marine. And here we have our completed Deathwatch Primaris. Now whilst I focused this video on one of the Intercessors, you could easily apply the same techniques and conversion tips to the other Primaris units. I would also recommend checking out my previous Primaris conversion videos for tips on making your miniatures look specific to a particular chapter. Now before we finish off, I just want to say a huge thank you to Alchemist Workshops for sponsoring this video. If you're looking for up to 25% off the RRP of Games Workshop products, you should definitely check those guys out, and I'll include a link to them in the description below. And so that concludes this video on converting your Primaris Space Marines to represent members of the Deathwatch. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more similar kind of conversion tutorials to this, do let me know, and also give me some suggestions about other chapters you would like to see me convert as well. Now if you're interested in supporting this channel and the videos that I do, you can do so by checking out my Patreon page, which you can find a link to in the description below. And from there you can donate to me from as little as $1 a month, which just really helps me in producing this kind of content. So the only thing left to say is thanks for watching and goodbye.